All right, the last video I made for you on integers, a lot of you complained about the sound that you couldn't understand what I was saying. So hopefully we corrected that problem this time. Although you didn't understand the video that well, most of you did quite well on the IXL assignment. It was three easy things: additive inverse, which means the opposite, okay? Which means if you want the additive inverse of a -2, the opposite would be a +2. Absolute value, which is distance away from 0, which is always positive. So the absolute value of a +2 is a +2, and the absolute value of a -2 is still a +2, because a -2 and a +2 are both 2 places away from 0, and distance can never be negative. And finally, we talked about how to compare integers. And I think the easiest way personally to compare them is to think of positive as having, negative as owing, and unless you're some kind of weirdo, you'd always rather have more than less. So if you take 2 and say, which would I rather, the one you rather is the greater one. You can do it with a number line and say which one is furthest to the right, because on a number line, as you go to the right, the numbers get bigger. But anyway, today we're going to talk about adding integers. And I actually have 3 different methods of teaching it to you. One is a visual understanding of it. A second one is a physical understanding of it. And the third one is a logical, mental way of understanding it. And again, I'm presenting all 3 because people are different type of learners, and people understand it different ways. The first way to learn is the way we learned how to add numbers on a number line when you were in first grade. Okay, you most probably had a number line, Miss Mouton or Miss Buisson, I don't know which one you had, but you most probably had a number line with 0, 1, 2, and 3. And remember, no sign means positive, so these were actually positive numbers. In first grade, you didn't think about that, but you do now. But anyway, if I wanted to add a +1 plus a +2, okay, what you learned back then is start by putting your finger on a +1 on the number line. And then a +2 would be moved 2 places to the right. By the way, at the time, you didn't know that positive meant to the right of 0, but now you do. And that's why when you add a +2, you move 2 places to the right. So if you start here and you move 2 places right, your answer is a +3. So a +1 plus a +2 equals a +3. Now, what we can expand on this with is think of a -1 plus a -2. Okay? And again, we would have to expand on the other side. -1 placed from 0, -2 places left of 0, -3, 3 places left of 0. So if I wanted to add a -1 plus a -2, I would start by putting my start at a -1, and then I'm going to go 2 places, but since it's a -2, I'm going to move 2 places to the left. And if I move 2 places to the left, I wind up at a -3. So again, on the number line, a positive plus a positive, you just add and your answer is positive. A negative plus a negative, again, you just add and your answer is negative. All right? We might want to write that down. Positive plus positive, you add and bring down the positive sign. And then you have a negative plus a negative. And again, you add and bring down the sign. By the way, you might be saying to yourself, the negative sign. You might be saying to yourself, well, duh, Mr. Do, if this is addition, I'm always going to add. But not necessarily, because addition does not mean to add. Addition means to combine, okay? And again, for the most part, when you're dealing with all positives, combining means the addition facts that we memorized. That's why in first grade, when you did the number line, you took these facts and you memorized them. But that's only one situation. Okay, there are three others. One of them was a negative plus a negative, and again, you still use those addition facts. But this is the one that really throws people off. What do you do when you have a -1 plus a +2? Okay, well, again, if we follow the same reasoning that we did before, if I want to add a -1 plus a +2, I'm going to start at a -1, just like I did up here. But now if I add a +2, I'm not going to move 2 places to the left. A +2 means move 2 places to the right. And if I move 2 places to the right, that means a -1 plus a +2 equals a +1. Now again, you go, wait, how can 1 plus 2 equal 1? It's not 1 plus 2. It's a -1 plus a +2. It's 1 place to the left, move 2 places to the right. -1 means 1 to the left. +2 means 2 to the right. And again, when you add a -1 plus a +2, you get a +1. And that's not an addition fact. That actually turns out to be a subtraction fact. And you go, what? Subtraction, but we're adding, Mr. Adu. No, we're combining. And the subtraction fact works in this case because 2 minus 1 is 1. All right? And again, you also have a situation where you could have a +1 plus a -2. And in that case, you would start at a +1, and then a -2 means move 2 places to the left. And if you move 2 places to the left, you wind up at a -1. Now, again, notice that in both cases I subtracted, but in one case my answer was positive, and the other case my answer was negative. So how do we determine if the answer is positive or negative? The easiest way to do that, if you look at it, is take the one that's the larger amount. Not the larger number, the larger amount. And a +2, 2 is a larger amount than 1. So 2 is positive, so my answer became positive. 2 was negative, so my answer became negative. Okay? And again, we can add 2 new rules now. The first one could be a positive plus a negative. You subtract and take the sign of the larger amount. Or you could have a negative plus a positive, and also you would subtract and take the sign of the larger amount. By the way, I will send you on Google Classroom, I will send you these notes with examples a little bit later today. All right, but these are the 4 rules. And you know what? You can take the 4 rules, and instead of memorizing 4 different things, you can break them down into only 2 rules. Like here, same sign, add, and bring down the sign. And here, different signs, subtract, and take the sign of the larger amount. And again, every time you go to add integers, the first thing you must do is ask yourself, Do you have the same signs or do you have different signs? If you have the same signs, then all you do is just add like normal and bring that sign down. But if you have different signs, this is where people get confused, because even though it's addition, if you have different signs, you've actually got to subtract and take the sign of the larger amount. So, now that we have those rules